held dear Department of Transportation and Department of Motor Vehicles. There's a Tom Perrone and Danielle Perrone recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering through time with a bunch of her boyfriends. I never had a conversation with her in my life. And Tom Perrone is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. He tricked me. Him with others. They tricked me to their house one time. They had a party. They said the people said it was he's involved with swingers, like sexual circles. And this is also involved real or made up that because I don't know. I had one conversation. I played Mike Tyson's Punch Out on Nintendo with him. The only conversation I ever had, and this at his house. Then it went is tied to some girl told me to go in a car with her. I didn't even know her. And so then we ended up at Town Line Drive. That place recorded, confessed, and demonstrated at that all on places on off it. But at the locations at the end of Town Line Drive, Celestine Highway, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time with them pretend with them roles where they have things recorded by people so they can they're acting so they can pretend conversations with me so they can pretend to know me. Other neighbors of theirs are involved further with that, involved with what they're pretending in the background that is recorded what was used to facilitate forced sexual crimes on kids as groups involved with other sexual circles. I don't know if they're tied to them, but I know that their racketeering was connected. They have connections made for them, like for example with uses of the locations at the end of the Town Line Drive, Celestine Highway, shared policing of stores, shared policing and employments at Walgreens and at CVS, involved with formal drug cliques with doctors, foreign and domestic, involved racketeering with overt criminal enterprises, and further with the principal sex offenders campus, and further with houses and businesses next to the middle school as the people are further involved here, worse than interstates and interbranch on off the federal, the state judicial branch offices with a Fienza family, a whole bunch of people on Two Rod Highway and off the streets tied to it. All of them. Now, these are also people involved with the sickest natures of crime that happen less often, but through time with Wethersfield. Also involved with the new and past neighbor, all tied with and federal criminal co-defendants, a former director of the FBI, one with a daughter in my grade, and two other ones involved with a whole bunch of other federal criminals and theirs and their family members. Further, also directly and indirectly criminally involved with houses in my area, uses of them for their roles with database racketeering, vertical and horizontal, the way they exploit that off campuses where they act and they have things pretended perceived. Because they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated in the background. They also crime methods, intercity, sickly, distinctly, and non-distinctly. The courts or the judicial racketeering, which is Washington, D.C., Pentagon, it's everything. Coast Guard's involved with women, leaders, identities involved, interbranch, women judges involved with this racketeering method that makes everyone speak through others. And they use racketeering method against each age of factory nature, putting charges on paper and recording, confessed, and demonstrating, but misprising that they knowingly evidence racketeering, that they're knowingly faking care and faking passions, faking righteous aggression, and faking that they're about justice when they're involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering against each age, and especially regarding the sexual, because they have this involved with everyone speaking through other things. And these are the people involved with drugs racketeering and sharing names, like Kevin. There's a Kevin Kanislis. I put the exception. Otherwise, I never had a conversation with him in my life. And in that kind, we had no words either. It was real sick. Quick, he was in my house, stole some bottle rockets from me. I was a little kid. It's nothing about that. I mean, all those kids steal. The Justice Department clicks. Those kids, you leave anything away, your eye, your second for 1 second, they'll take it from you. And those are people pretending they're having conversations with you offensively, with drug clicks associated with the Brendan Leahy, with a whole bunch of, I never had a conversation with them in my life. He's got a son, Brendan Leahy. He's got other brothers. women in their family involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of judicial people with badges, also foreign and domestic. These are people with racketeering with Russian families, with election spots, town offices, with the racketeering roles and natures actually recorded, pretending to be against what they further, which is they're knowingly. For example, they're also using statutes criminally knowing they exploited the exceptions to the law and the nature of the law and other laws before that. These are racketeering acts and methods on a mass scale where prosecutors and things use the crime method of putting charges on paper attached to fake and putting fake recorded things into databases. And they're furthering life progressions they needed because before the prosecutors were prosecutors, they were they were recording, confessed, and demonstrated involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering, with all kinds of natures of crimes. Now the drug crimes, there were other natures of drug crimes and motivations of drug crimes and methods and uses of them, with as the formal drug crimes cliques and the overt criminal enterprise drug crime cliques, and the all that tied to them. Recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shift, finite, active, progressive value lies, and identity racketeering lies. And worse, they kept needing to hide roles with the identity of the racketeering and method that American history is about originally, and still to tell about this. Which comes to the identity, the grounds, relationship to our quality of fact, treatment nature, and George Washington having to leave overt slavery with color in Wethersfield / Hartford, even with the French general's help, he could only send me counsel to restore that with his own fact, treatment nature, slavery, and torture. Therefore, now say we have people who want to debate this by putting debatable before what is actually recorded, before sequence valued true, before science valued true. And that's recorded in collusion with scientific consensus, self-valued, criminally foreign influence delusions wrought. They have glorified our founders' stolen identities. They have glorified the speech that was forced on them. And that's recorded. George Washington did not chop down the fake branches in Connecticut. They were already nations individually grouped and together, forcing each position in the human fact treatment nature roles are hurt. And if they try to counter it, they try to counter the roles and counter trying to be hurt by fighting, they're only afforded unities already the same thing, states and areas in criminally foreign influenced. Database relationships, each age and nature of campus, which came from the republic's value system, positive or negative. So we keep it negative self-value because we're in value nature systems, markets, positions, tactical interior from science's value nature system, which the Trinity is actually about. And this wouldn't even be debatable through lifetimes if they weren't keeping originally and still criminally foreign influence branches of government, racketeering roles with all private tied to them, like all locations. Their values and their fact treatments with their sequence shift racketeering natures, their racketeering roles needing to hide their racketeering already recorded with cases, their natures actually recorded, so they have to hide their actually natures offensively from each age's actual means per sequence true and correlation natures Trinity actually value. When I say Trinity, I'm referring to the order of the finite, the active, and the progressive at the same time. I'm not referring to religion, but I'm not denying religions. It is recorded that we have religions and used for maintain what is effectively a racketeering method, keeping criminal insidious nature as the quality of each age fact treatment nature and perception treatment nature, self-valued criminal insidious nature rules. Styles of liars in relationship to the identity of value progression that is inseparable from and has the value to all questions as their only answer /s, no matter what the answer is, if it's going to be positive and also positive unto itself. See, we have positive only through the other value nature system, pretended realized, pretended. Because now they can't follow mandated law. They're recorded on a mass scale, criminally pretending that mandated law means ask someone else what to do when someone reports crime acts, like sex crime acts and threats to hurt kids with the parents, I mean, with the schools, with the principal sex offender. Other natures of child abusers way worse than him with his campus then and now. The Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, and demonstrated their racketeering with the Wethersfield Police, with a whole bunch of natures of courts and their family members, prosecutors, their family members, states attorneys, their family members, and a whole bunch of other nations. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that they're pretending it's associated with whatever that their shared policing is on and off campuses, like CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with other nations, people that they have also made the confessions and recorded demonstrations, racketeering roles, uses of on and off campuses like Dakota places with Dakota restaurant and with a town line with a whole bunch of men and women associated with a on the border restaurant that I don't even know. And there's Rob Rodriguez. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with actually recorded evidences on Facebook. And he verified what he confessed and recorded to me and to others about his roles with my new and past neighbors with untimely deaths, with nurses, with family members with nurses, and they're involved. He's involved also with people, a whole bunch of people with CCSU and with Trinity College and with UConn involved with houses all along routes that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering together. Like this one time, I was in the presence of and besides the time with the that one time we played Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Now, so in other words, this is the Department of Transportation, DMV. This is also people associated with the policing of the waterways and things like that, with the fire departments, houses next to them. These are people with corners of streets involved criminally. Now, there's a whole bunch of people. It's all the connected. There's a whole bunch of like connections to houses on and off Two Rod Highway, like associated with the ones up with houses on Walker Hill regarding their roles with military, foreign, and domestic racketeering, their roles with racketeering with Hawaii, and the people on and off the middle school, high school, and the businesses with the racketeering intercampuses, interstates with other nations, like Puerto Rico, like Italy, like Mexico, etc., etc. They have shared policing. They have Australia also. They have like shared policing on off Trinity College, recorded, confessed, and demonstrating where they have racketeering with database, vertical, horizontal database racketeering. And then they can never, they need to pretend sequence shifts. And so they can, because they already have crime methods like writing down a name of a charge that they know that they criminally writing that name of the charge, putting no premises, lying about recorded things, confessing that, recording that through time. So they're communicating what they're lying about, which is no torture, which is no constitutional freedom of speech crimes, which is no civil rights crimes, which is no health crimes. These are also drug clicks with doctors forging names, switching names as the people involved with the racketeering, with the people employed at CPS and implied involved and demonstrate involved with all the policing of the stores, intercities, involved state police, former director of the F.B.I, Robert Luskin down, involved a whole bunch of racketeering with people from my town. There's also neighbors of people that live on across the street. I don't know if it's the same street or another, but of where used to be a teacher named Mr. O'Connor. Now, see, these are also confessions through time. So, and they don't let you count them in on time or have anything, and they say contradicting things consciously, criminally into records, and no one's ever allowing anything in writing These are all kinds of crime methods with each age of fact treatment nature. Further through time, they have recorded courts of each age, like especially with the kids involved with this racketeering method. Now, they were already, before they were in those courts, they're already sick predators the same way they were originally, and still, since our founders left them that way, for us to demonstrate their uses of sub rosa statutes used for racketeering with active fact treatment nature racketeering, sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, and identity thefts and frauds and racketeering leverage against people and worse. Now, these are also their criminal uses of rights to tell fake news, but using it criminally. Their rights to train people, where they have they have nation shared training of people. Also, where you're going to learn how to do, like, say, we're going to have the dispute because this guy's going to stand in front of the car and shoot because this guy, say, was running away, so he felt he had to shoot the driver to save himself. Now, what do you think? Is this a legitimate shooting or not? See, before they have that, and while they have, might say, that example for training people, those training bodies and those classes and individually grouped and together, each of those people was affected by a racketeering method, and already involved. They're all involved with it. From off campuses, they maintain facilitated roles with what the interbranch family members are used for, regardless of who is. Both parties are recorded criminally for and influenced in delusions originally still. We need to fight about to have passions and emotions have a course not let demonstrated here, because they're only forced to value an identity of negative value nature progression, identity of criminal insidious nature legalized but criminally, and then all their narrative they value all that juxtaposed like money, and like everyone taking money as premises treatments as one premise. Oh, it's the premise of the argument. They're separating what's inseparable too long. Various natures of courts recorded doing that to hide their racketeering acts roles with child offenders that show that they're doing that. They know what's actually, they need to have things go before those various natures of courts on off their state judicial branch offices are preventing mandated law. And we have former director of the F.B.I. down. We have other agencies and their family members, prosecutors, state's attorneys already with the racketeering. So we have to have the rules followed. So they're forging, switching names. So it's like that Robert Frost with the. I think it's in a Robert Frost poem about if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? In other words, these people are just writing whatever in database forever and using time criminally always, too fast, too slow to get over on forever nature. They have further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated interbranch family members, prosecutors already used their kids criminally with the FBI, with the CIA. I never had a conversation with, I never had anything to do with, never had a class with, never hung around with a Kevin Hickey. These are his neighbors, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. The neighbors of a Kevin Canisalis. And I don't know his sister's name, but she's also recorded, involved, and confessed and demonstrated by people involved and with them, uses of them for racketeering at CCSU. Also with a whole bunch of people tied to an Abruzzi family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time racketeering also with the Dimauro family and with all natures of levels of politicians and their family members used criminally with overt criminal enterprises. People associated with all levels of politicians. There's also Luigi Guerrera and his sister. And there are men and women police associated with Rocky Hill High School and military associated with medical families involved with child sex offenders further, and with database racketeering, and with that, with how they the time when they had that girl next to my English class when they had me go for one time I went to go substitute teach. Also demonstrated, recorded, confessed one of the students in the classrooms in Rocky Hill. He's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated one of the people involved with the racketeering through time, roles, and uses of Wethersfield and Rocky Hill parks. And as people are involved with this, with the intercities officers named uses of the name McGee, with men and women involved with child sex offenders criminally, forging names, switching names, racketeering with judges of various natures of courts of their family members with drug crimes, formal and other. Now, see, we have an officer Poisian with state police, Wethersfield Police. Now I can't get a response on email. He's involved with racketeering with email, with evidences crimes, with Facebook, with sexual abuses of little kids, attaching them in the fake locations, with sexual uses of the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court, uses of the leaderships of these online platforms, their sensibilities, like Zuckerberg. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people involved with the racketeering of uses of the phrase worldview and the perfect world. Because these are people preventing mandated law, pretending and pretending it means what it doesn't. They were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, threatening kids not to go down, threatening their families not to go down and make a police report. Or they're going to forge names, switch names, and fake recorded things, and then just put it in quotes and pretend it's recorded by police equipment, which they do. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with that. Two Mendez police, two Demaine brothers involved, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with drugs and with databases. A whole bunch of people said that Miss Riley, I don't know her. I mean, she was my teacher. I never had a personal conversation with her. Algebra teacher of mine. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the racketeering, where they have the on off the locations like the end of Town Line Drive and Southstein Highway. Now, these are people also long CCSU, Trinity College, UConn involved racketeering with the other ages of campuses and with these tied and criminally used connections between the campuses. There were also a whole bunch of Russian families recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with our own, like with the retired and standing at the branch associated with the corners of the street of the principal sex offender, including the new street they put in there. And then that woman reportedly moved. And that's all of the same people involved with the racketeering on off the campus with the sex offender there, and the further medical doctors and things like her involved with it further for criminally. She moved over to near a house like near a Kennelly school in Hartford. That's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the same male and female FBI and CIA family members and their family members involved in their sexual circles, including how they had a number of boyfriends at once, and they were influenced to make confessions to me because they're using confessions criminally here. These are also people racketeering roles with the people that are the altar boys, what's his name? Like the O'Brien brothers with Rocky Hills Police, Newtown, Sandy Hook, private, and other, and fire departments involved with racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center at that context. You can't see from here, America, that and how each modern nation cities like New York City, that's a pathology that was set up to force only capable of being negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, and to invest that all victim predator roles, blaming the real causes of it on other things other than themselves, the styles of liars, free speech. Now they can't. So there's a Sardelli family in that name, and there's an Aiello family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with Facebook racketeering with evidences, where they try to, and with a whole bunch of other people that also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They say things for evidence racketeering methods where they're pretending A or B, and the courts aren't criminally involved. And military. These are people on off Trinity College again with the Aiello family, on off the fire departments with the Aiello family, with a former Mayor Gold and his family members involved racketeering with them, and a whole bunch of people tied to them recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with forensics clicks through time and with their racketeering with houses in my area involved with that. Like a Phil Cololo, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people with a forensics click place in Connecticut involved with racketeering with the principal sex offender and with other federal criminals they were crimes with when they were still forcing them with their crimes. They're also recorded with physical delusions, not by accident, juxtaposed with criminal foreign influences. So those physical delusions perpetually self-valued by our justice systems in collusion with these psychos, pretending to have integrity. Now, logic's going to need free speech, and logic's going to need science, but we don't have that yet. We have CCS, we have CNN recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were criminally influenced to criminally influence homeland, criminally foreign influence homeland interbranch. The transition to the Patriot Act is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering that was also involved with the transition from ACA to RICO, with the people here involved also with their family members living and standing, involved with the sex offenders and with the database racketeering and with Facebook used criminally through time. I just remind. Shouldn't be hard. It should be able to report actual. This is all true on. They want to, so they're forging names and switching names. They have other recorded crime methods and uses of courts in conjunction with them preventing anything in writing and pretending other because they put a charge in writing. And they simultaneously confessed that they have police departments from various natures of towns involved with falsified police reports, stacking them into databases, switching arresting officers' names, attaching little kids and their family members to fake locations through time. I just remind, they have a whole bunch of people tied to Oprah Winfrey into Gayle King with that network. CBS recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also criminal uses of the theater of Stephen Colbert. Now, this is theater where it's criminal and seditious nature, and you guys are preventing mandated law, and you're being coached to it. In other words, I'm reporting we're coaching you to it too. It's all right. You want to deny something, deny on paper, deny here actually, because this is where you're lying about my YouTube too. You're lying about their offensive recorded standing criminal uses of gyms, boxing gyms associated with the people with the Sandy Hook racketeering. Now there's a prison in Sandy Hook. Like I think it's called a Thomas Ward prison. There's also a Thomas Ward recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with all natures of racketeering with Facebook. Also with modern languages people, foreign and domestic families with various natures of like departments of medical campuses actual, where they're actually needed for actually great things like heart surgeons. But that guy's involved with his family member with racketeering roles, leading up to and in all these with the people involved with the racketeering, leading up to when the Trade Center attack, leading up to when the Gulf Wars, leading up to when every time they use their mouth, they open their mouth. Our leaders, our types of jobs, not by accident. Originally and still, victim predators. Science never spoke, correlation never spoke for Hartford. So Hartford, Connecticut, there are a whole bunch of people associated with medical racketeering, foreign and domestic, with judges, with recorded and confessed racketeering uses of families and sexual circles, also through time, with Alina's Pizza, involved with Justice Department racketeering, Pentagon racketeering. That's also with child sex offenders through time clicks associated with that with the principal sex offender school. When I went to that grammar school, I don't even know who that is still. I know what he looks like. Barely, I wouldn't know if I remember would recognize him. This Lance Cuddy. But his name was repeated to me by a number of people involved here criminally with vertical and horizontal database racketeering at the campuses I went to. That's also involved with sequence racketeering, identity theft clicks, identity fraud clicks, identity racketeering clicks. That's also involved with the Yagman family, with the Dimauro family, a whole bunch of people tied to them, and to a Leahy family in New Britain Superior Court. Pretend I repeat that they repeat things like art things. Like in other words, they saw something on some show. In other words, they're trying to pretend other people, they're lying about the characters of other people behind their backs, and then because into clicks with intelligence community already invested relied upon in relationship to fact-keeping natures. We have counters where it's peaceful only in relationship to psycho, like war, like their roles with the racketeering originally still self-valued with the medical racketeering. Whole bunch of men and women tied to a Heather Hansen recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that they walk by you and then they pretend they had a conversation with you. They're involved with sequence shifts, forging names, switching names, racketeering roles with them with Trinity College with a whole bunch of names. They also just because those people I'm using their names doesn't mean I was in the play anywhere location with them. These are just people from my town. They're pretending I'll gather around. See, they have Farmington Avenue locations next to the Harriet Beecher Stowe slash, right next to with the Mark Twain house, involved with the same natures of racketeering uses of that. For example, the same natures of crime that originally instills using concepts like Jim Crow, and like Uncle Tom. You know, fake sides. Everyone fighting about debatable and with argument styles that are all preventing anyone from using actual science, from actually having mandated law and free speech originally instilled. WFSB has recorded, confessed, and demonstrated stole me to fake words, stole little kids to fake locations so they can force sexual offenders more and further with a principal sex offender caught anywhere. Further, worse child abuses tied to him and to his patients and to his doctors. Were already recorded and confessed and demonstrated rape threats, criminal uses of New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, criminal uses of the Facebook pages of grammar school kids. Grammar school kids! Now I need a response. Have them pick one name in sequence into branch. Let's go. Get down! I'll gather around. Yes, fix the fake news. WFSB now. They're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal uses of legality. There's a doll also involved with the racketeering, with the streets peripheral. All these streets, with the corners along with the Russians, and the Russians are also confessed to me and my family here. Now these are WFSB involved, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with them from the interstates, local news, through time, intercities, already investing a whole bunch of racketeering roles nature. They're done. Fix the fake news. Stop pretending you have a job. Get down. WFSB. Fox Connected News, let's go! Gather around! You want to do it the hard way? We're going to seek out the names of the people that work in the business next to you, too, because they're also quite racketeering with you, with this finance family, with the clubs downtown. All gather around. What are you hiding with your roles with these nations down there, with the Russians involved with you, the racketeering? Where does their Officer White live? He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with this through time, too. With foreign domestic medical racketeering families with child offenders, and with these people tied to Biden. And the FBI in New Haven. Enter cities from this guy. I'll have the state judicial branch on there. Let's go. Get them to one name and sequence into branch and down. I'll gather around. Interstates, they've been using the crime method with little kids. Put a charge, no words. They use this against adults. People who are actually saying we have real sick branches here to fall and fast. You other nations, you hear me too, distinctly and non-distinctly. You are crimes against you own too. I'll pretend it's just our agencies that are sick, worthless piece of junks. You all are an identity of negative value progression, self-value since semi-ancient times. The New York game will live right here. The species coast will grip you close. This just remains. Control your minds. Free speech. Get them from my name and down. Who's the new? There's a Moran family. Also, we'll call everyone conversation. I explained it. The Moran family. You are a mayor. Record, confess, and demonstrate involved racketeering with state police, with programs like DOT in the past, with the people now who are further recording, confessed, also demonstrated with a whole bunch of families, like with a Sammy Vega, his family members, their location, that building, that gym, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated him involved with racketeering, intercities with interbranch, on and off CCSU, involved with them, racketeering with judges, with prosecutors, with police forms, with lawyers, fake signs, all lies. Betrayal tribes, New York. Find out where that Phil Frank Guzet lives. These are interstate child offenders leading up to, that was roles with their roles, with our side, with the others, with the Trade Center attack. I'll delete the delusions from their criminally influenced souls. Someone hear me. Someone show me to someone, not besides these interbranch rat mouth fakes. They just lie. They use the news to other lie progressions, tie databases, interbranch, on-off campuses in private, like their uses of the places at the end of the town line drive. That's what they've been using it for, to pretend to perceive things. All stacked. Also with Justin Levinson, also Mike and Violet. Mike and Mark Violet. Whole bunch of people tied to the house in my area further involved racketeering with the kids and my new and past neighbors, and with this Dillon family, with military, foreign, and domestic intercities two-time racketeering. Now they know they were coached to it. Everyone's being coached to it. WFSB, coached to categorically steal me and little kids to fake locations, fake work, fake secret shifts, fake relationships to clicks, recorded, confessed, involved. Whole bunch of nations racketeering roles with the transition from Aka to Rico, with the transition from that to the Patriot Act, all that. Criminal uses of judges, of their family, of their courts leading up to and with that. When we reports, fake bridges fall. Now they know what they did with that guy. They said his name, Officer Hunter, with New York, with the Hartford courts. I already reported and recorded. They recorded themselves trying to sequence and pretend other. They already recorded the pattern of racketeering since before the Trade Center. Those people involved with him, with those crime acts against me. And those are people also racketeering acts roles leading up to, and then the 2006 case with that. They also have the Department of DOT, people associated with my extended family members, and uses of CCSU roles. Racketeering uses of get them at the paper now. Pretend to perceive things. Perceive out of context. I mean, out of sequence. You will see passions and emotions used by a racketeering method originally, and still, America, you will see your free speech, you will see your Constitution, your American history stole in breaching screen hands and tools. They were recorded, dishonest, criminally foreign influence with their uses of terms like service. Words like identity, words like details. Always! Give me a response from the military, too, if you can't do it interbranch, you cowards. What coward woman we have! Recorded! Get them to our name in sequence! They're sick men! I'll show you! It's time. America! Nations! Species, volume long! the nations will. They will humble lower species train. They'll play their suits and ties, oh, sick fakes. Play game. It only feels like game. Simulation's fruits, evolution's fruits and gifts revealed. Evolution. Don't associate that with that name. What's the name? What's his name? Darwin. You get those physical delusions from your minds. Homers!